The Cowboys have been far busier than they have been, especially compared to last year in NFL free agency. So with a lot of moves made, I want to go through all of them, recap the moves, give out grades for all the individual moves and the big picture stuff as well here on the Cowboys Report. Now, all of these moves in some capacity have had, whether it's an individual video or a shorter version or combined into several, we've hit every single Cowboys move in free agency. And if more news happens, we'll hit that as well. Hit that sub button if you haven't already. YouTube.com/@CowboysTV. I don't know what the answer is on the number of moves, the number of videos we've done the past week, but I know it's been a lot, and more will come. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out. So first, let's briefly recap all the moves the Cowboys have made, including re-signings. I'm not going to include Juanyeh Thomas and Brock Hoffman. Those were and Tyrus Wheat. Those were exclusive rights free agents. Those were free squares. Those were no-brainers. They're the vet minimum. No complaints at all about that. Those are easy A-plus grades. Osa back on a 4-year, $80 million deal. We'll spend time on that one. CJ Goodwin, 1 year, $1.42. Markquese was up to 12. It's really more like 3 years, $9 million. Trent Sieg, the long snapper, back on a 3-year, $4.45 million deal, most of which is like basically guaranteed the first 2 years at slightly more than the vet minimum. Javonte Williams, 1 year, $3 million. Again, details not fully known on some of these. Robert Jones, 1 year, up to 4.75. Sounds like that deal's going to come in more at like 3.75. Solomon Thomas, 2 years, up to 8. 3 years, 13.5 for Kavontae. That's the actual number. Again, it came in lower than the initial reported number, as they so often do. Peyton Turner, 1 year, $2 million guaranteed. Brian Anger, a 2-year, $6.4 million deal, very similar to his last contract to return to the Dallas Cowboys. Kaiir Elam, part of a trade, a 5th and a 6th, with Elam and a 6th coming back to Dallas. Jack Sanborn, 1-year deal. Still don't know what the actual details are on that one as of filming. Kenneth Murray, along with a 2025 7th, to Dallas for a 2025 6th round pick. Now, the Cowboys also lost some key players. Jordan Lewis, Chuma Edoga, both go to Jacksonville. Chauncey Golston goes to New York. DeMarcus Lawrence goes to Seattle. And Rico Dowdle goes to the Carolina Panthers. Those were 4, let's just combine Edoga and Golston as like kind of partial starters into one. So 4-ish starters from the Cowboys this past season have been lost. I want you, before we get into my individual grades and overall grades here, grade the Cowboys free agency so far. A, B, C, D, or F. It is the pinned comment on today's show. So if the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. A, B, C, D, or F. Let's go to Osa Odighizuwa, and you can especially contrast this one to the Milton Williams 4 years, $106 million contract he got from the Patriots there. And suddenly $20 million doesn't look too bad for an Osa extension. I'll give this a B+. Now, if you just don't like Osa the player, you hate it. I feel like this is kind of like opposite ends of the spectrum grades, and that's totally fine. I think that's just the nature of that type of money there. I think relative to the market, that was kind of a team-friendly deal, quite frankly. And also, not to overgive them too much credit here, but if they're not going to spend on outside free agents, maybe it's okay if they give an overpay to some internal players. CJ Goodwin, the cornerback, who's really just a special teamer here. I'm going to give a special grade for CJ Goodwin. ST, it's special teams. It's fine. It's not very expensive. They want to keep that core together. You're not going to catch me like really complaining about going out and doing special team stuff. Now, to an extent, Markquese also kind of fits this mold, although I think he does offer more than just special teams ability. And the cost of a backup safety is like $4 or $5 million on the open market. It's not very much guaranteed money for Markquese. They can move off him in the near future if they want to. I give that one an A. I am a fan of Markquese game. I think it's a fair, if not even slightly team-friendly contract. It's less cap hit than the RFA tender would have been. I don't have many complaints there. Trent Sieg, in fact, I have no complaints on Markquese. Trent Sieg, 3 years, $4.45 with $3.1 million guaranteed. Again, this is your long snapper. The long snapper plan should always be we mention him when he gets signed, we mention him when he makes the roster, and then we don't mention him again. And I'm going to give a special teams grade here too. It's not, at his age, like that's not very different than the vet minimum. I'm not going to let like $100,000 or something, whatever the actual number is, difference actually cause problems for me. It's a special teams grade, ST, lame way, but you don't need to freak out about it. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. It is the best place to get real money sports action, especially now that we are deep into March, or I guess halfway into March. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. You can run your game all season long on Prize Picks. If you haven't already, go check out prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. There are season-long football Prize Picks slates available. I normally like the more thans, but I don't know if it was Harrison or Chase who cooked this one up. I like the less thans here. Jared Goff, less than passing yards. Travis Kelce, less than receiving yards. Jay Daniels, that's a very high rushing yards figure. I love the less than there as well. So again, link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. Go download the app today and use code CLNS over at prizepicks.com/CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. It's Prize Picks. Run your game. Javonte Williams, a 1-year, $3 million deal. I don't have actual details, at least not that I've seen as of filming yet. So maybe there's like a little bit less guaranteed money than previously thought. This is a 1-year, $3 million deal, which even if it's just like all guaranteed, I think that's fine for a player at his stage of his career. Again, we went more in depth on all these guys previously. I'm fine with this one. I think it's a B. I didn't change it for the individual signing after Rico got like a very similar grade because I would have preferred Rico. I think he's a better runner right now. But we'll talk about some of the losses here later on. Robert Jones, a 1-year, $4.75 million deal. Now, of note, this is the up to figure for Robert Jones, up to 4.75. It's really more like 3.75 million with $3 million guaranteed. That's not that bad. That's about the going rate for a backup guard. But I just kind of, maybe you could have gotten a better player and spent a little bit more money. I am very curious, though, and I'll give it a C+, by the way. It's my least favorite offensive move. Let's put it that way. I am curious to see how this new coaching staff can maximize these players. The common trend you'll notice on these signings is they're often like low risk, potentially high upside players that had high draft grades in the consensus coming out, and the Cowboys hoping that they can fix them. As a backup, that's fine for Jones, but I kind of think Hoffman and maybe Bass are actually better. This was one of the few multi-year deals, given out from the Cowboys this offseason. And you kind of had some Matt Eberflus guys come in. This one kind of very much seems like a Aaron White-Cotton deal. Solomon Thomas, 2 years, up to $8 million. Again, I have not seen actual contract details. I would not be surprised if this basically boils down to like it's a $3 million cap hit and they can get out of it after a year and pay him like $4 million total or something. That would not be a huge surprise to me. I do think Solomon Thomas's inside-outside game, though, is something the Cowboys need, especially after losing Chauncey Golston. I think there is still untapped potential. I think he will do dirty work for you. He can generate a little bit of pressure as well. I think he is a good rotational player. Doesn't fulfill your high-level need, but I think it is a quality individual signing by the Dallas Cowboys. I don't have too many issues there. Not my favorite one. We'll get to my favorite one that wasn't an internal signing here in a second. But what is your favorite Cowboys free agency move? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. What is your favorite Cowboys free agency move? Let's go to Kavontae Turpin, as this had been reported as Kavontae Turpin is now the highest paid special teams player in the NFL. Well, not actually. This is a 3-year, $13.5 million deal. And eventually, I think we'll do kind of some more in-depth details on the individual contract stuff here. But this is basically, they can get out of this deal for like 1 year, 5.5, basically. Like next year, if they wanted to cut Kavontae Turpin, they could absolutely do it. There's not a lot of signing bonus stuff involved there. He's costing $3 million on the cap this season. It'd be 2.5 in dead money or rounding there. That's actually very team friendly. This is not a lot of money to pay for someone who I am optimistic can end up being more than just a gadget player. But that's probably what he's limited to on offense. That is a good move by the Cowboys. Let's go to Peyton Turner, part of the Cowboys' run of, let's bring in your former failed first-round pick. 1 year, $3 million, $2 million guaranteed. It's fine. That's a cheap, buy low, swing for the upside, see if something better ends up happening. I think playing time has been his biggest problem. He just hasn't been healthy. I worry about him getting enough playing time. He fits the archetype of what Matt Eberflus likes. If he's your fourth defensive end, you're probably not worried at all about that. The question just becomes, do you have a better 2 and 3? So I give this one a B again. Kind of like some previous years, I don't have that many complaints with a lot of these moves from a bubble perspective, like just in a bubble. 1 year, $3 million. That doesn't really matter all that much. Brian Anger, the punter, 2 years, 6.4. That's per Denver. That's the numbers coming out of Denver because apparently the Cowboys won the bidding war. It's a punter. You can't win a bidding war for a punter. He got $3.2 million. That's not a bidding war, right? He's back for what might be the final 2 years of his NFL career. So again, special teams grade. Just because it's special teamer. I'm not going to freak out about it. We'll do trades here as well, though. Kaiir Elam, a 2025 sixth, and Kaiir Elam heading to Buffalo for a 2025 fifth and a 2026 seventh. From like a trade value perspective, that's extremely minimal. I don't have any issues at all in terms of being willing to trade away day 3 draft picks or day 3 pick swaps. That's fine. And I think Elam has untapped potential. I liked him a lot coming out of Florida. So I'm gonna give this one again a B. For me, that's a good trade. A is great, B is good, C's okay, D is bad, and F is I'm really, really mad about it. A B for me is it's fine, it's good. I don't have Elam. Hopefully, is a backup for you. I still think you needed a nickel, but that's depth that they needed. The Jack Sanborn one, I am very intrigued by. I think he was kind of just stuck behind 2 better linebackers for the Chicago Bears. He at minimum gives you fantastic special teams play. I think he's better than Damone Clark. He is not the same caliber of athlete, but I think he's better there. We don't have the full details on the contract for Jack Sanborn. I would guess this is a profoundly cheap deal, and I'll change my grade if I need to, if it ends up not being a profoundly cheap deal. But I think that Sanborn could be a pleasant surprise for you, and someone that I know Matt Eberflus knows quite well from their time together in Chicago. So what is your least favorite Cowboys free agency move? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. What is your least favorite Dallas Cowboys free agency move? Some of you will say Kenneth Murray. It's Murray, a 2025 7th-round pick to the Cowboys, a 2025 6th-round pick to Tennessee. From a trade perspective, I have no issues here. That's a negligible amount. My biggest issue is that you're giving $7 million to a player who still is kind of the same guy he was at Oklahoma. When he gets to just go downhill, he's actually pretty good. He's able to make stuff happen. He's impactful. He's able to make some splash plays. When he's in space or in coverage or has to fully process, he'll take the cheese. He'll get out of position. And you're paying him. You could have just given Jordan Lewis that money this year. Why wouldn't you have just done that? You could have basically, from a cap perspective, just signed Dre Greenlaw instead of going with Murray and Jack Sanborn. Or you have money to do Greenlaw anyway. So I just have issues with the money involved for Kenneth Murray for the level of player he has been so far in his NFL career. Now, he's a fantastic athlete. And if anyone can fix him, it's Matt Eberflus. But this also comes down to the Cowboys are kind of just signing athletic players and hoping that the Cowboys coaching staff can fix them. That's the concern to me. So I'm not a fan of the Kenneth Murray move with the contract and level of play, but also it's not like it's the end of the world either. Now, what does stink are some of the losses the Cowboys sustained. Jordan Lewis is a is a tough loss for the Cowboys. Chuma Edoga, you guys know that I'm not a big fan. He might end up counting as a comp pick for you. Chauncey Golston heading to the New York Giants. You know, all of the Chauncey Golston's and his agent, I think, was also Lewis and Tank Lawrence agent, David Cantor, and they all left, which is interesting to me, and maybe not a specific Cowboys issue, or maybe it is kind of a specific Cowboys issue there. So Golston leaves for the Giants on a deal that you could have paid, but I think he's just like a good player. And there's a chance that the combination of Solomon Thomas and Peyton Turner is as good, if not better, there. DeMarcus Lawrence heads over to the Seattle Seahawks, which at that amount I'm not terribly surprised by, but it is still a noteworthy loss. Rico Dowdle ends up going to the Carolina Panthers on a deal that was the same basically as Javonte Williams. Maybe just more incentives as well there. And my issue you run into when you start to look big picture here and zoom back is, did you get better? Did you get better at all the different holes you wanted to fill? And you've definitely added bodies, but do you feel more confident in this roster? Do you think the Cowboys are better from when they began free agency to now, with all the losses and everything? Y for yes, N for no. So let's grade free agency for the Cowboys then. I'm going to be a coward and a cheater. This is kind of like a B-, C+, kind of like right in that range for me. It can go either way, and that's basically looking at the live poll about the same way you guys feel. It is unquestionably better than what the Cowboys did last year. I don't think anyone can sit there and say the last offseason was better. It was not, especially with what we knew at the times, right? But that was a god-awful free agency for the Cowboys. The quantity has gone up. Is the quality in the end good enough? I would wager a lot of money that at least a couple of these kind of low-risk, cheap, high-upside, maybe we get lucky swings, do pay out. Whether it's at linebacker or defensive line or whatever, I think at least one of them, if not 2 or 3, pay off, and that's good. I'd rather have 10 cracks at it, or 7 cracks at it, than 3, because just the odds of me getting 3 good players are way higher there. But not all of them will likely end up working out in the end. Free agency is not over yet. I'd like some more clear impact pieces. Even if you have to overpay for clear impact pieces in free agency, whether that's a receiver or a corner or another defensive tackle, that's something I would like to see this team do. And I can feel a lot better overall about the Cowboys free agency if they can go do that. They've got around $30 million in cap space. They can absolutely make that work.